Have you ever felt that gut-wrenching pain when she moves on, almost instantly, while you're left questioning every moment you shared? That sinking feeling in your chest, the one that whispers, "Did I mean nothing?" It's raw, it's unsettling. And yet, it's exactly the reason why no contact still works. Even when your ex seems to have erased you from her world, even when she's laughing with someone else or posting pictures like nothing ever happened, the silent truth is more powerful than you realize. Most men don't understand this. They panic, they text, they beg, they overanalyze every single interaction, hoping for some sign she still cares. But here's the thing. Love isn't about her showing up for you immediately. It's about the unseen threads of desire, respect, and emotional attachment that no one can fake, and no one can control. The moment you disappear from her world, you trigger an invisible tension she can't help but feel. You create a vacuum, and in that vacuum, something unexpected begins to stir. You see, women aren't just thinking about the present moment. They are subconsciously measuring value, testing limits, and questioning permanence. When you disappear, when you choose no contact, you force her to confront a reality she wasn't ready for, a life without you. Even if she acted like she moved on in days or weeks, her mind isn't linear. Women feel deeply, and feelings, unlike actions, have a way of resurfacing when you least expect it. That's why the clock doesn't matter. Weeks, months, or even years, absence never erases emotional imprint. There's a critical psychology here most men completely miss. When a woman sees that you're unshaken, that you're not desperate for her attention, she experiences a subtle fear. It's not just the fear of losing you, it's the fear of what she truly wants versus what she allowed herself to chase. You see, when she moves on quickly, it's often a defensive mechanism. She's telling herself she's fine without you, but inside, a quiet question lingers. Could I have done better? Did I really value him? That question alone can ignite longing that words, apologies, or texts could never create. Here's where most men sabotage themselves. They mistake her moving on for emotional closure. They think if she isn't calling or texting, the chapter is over. But emotional closure isn't visible. It's internal and it's fragile. You can't see it, but you can feel it if you understand the mechanics of human attachment. By stepping away, by holding your ground, you're not punishing her. You're restoring your power, your dignity, and your magnetic value. And those are things she can't manufacture on her own. Let me be clear. No contact isn't about ignoring her out of spite. It's about creating a space where your absence becomes a mirror. In that mirror, she begins to see herself differently, without the security of your presence cushioning her choices. She starts asking questions she tried to suppress. Did I rush? Did I make a mistake? Why doesn't he reach out? That mental tug, that quiet unease she feels when you stop chasing, is the invisible lever that pulls desire back toward you. But here's the part most men don't grasp. The speed at which she moved on doesn't matter. What matters is the perceived stability of your emotional world. If she moved on, it wasn't because you lost value, it was because she was testing whether you'd crumble or thrive in your own life. Women are experts at reading emotional strength. If you stay calm, confident, and fully invested in your personal growth while absent from her life, you silently communicate something irresistible. You are whole without her, and yet she still matters enough to create this tension in her mind. Think about the last time someone truly intrigued you by simply disappearing from your daily life. That emptiness, that curiosity, that quiet obsession, it's human nature. The same principle applies here, amplified by emotion, memory, and unspoken connection. No contact works not because she will come running, but because you allow reality, her reality, to surface. And reality always has a way of revealing truth. The first reason no contact works, even if she moves on quickly, is this. Absence magnifies emotional truth. It reveals what she really felt, what she truly valued, and what she is willing to confront without your constant presence. And that truth, once felt, cannot be erased by superficial distractions, social media posts, or a new partner. It lingers, it grows, and it waits for the moment. She realizes she underestimated what she had. Here's a hard truth for men. You cannot control her feelings. You cannot force attachment, but you can control your response. You can control the energy you project. And when you step back, when you embrace no contact, you activate a silent force far stronger than manipulation or pleading, the force of self-respect, emotional independence, and unshakable value. That force does more to pull her back than any text or conversation ever could. So, before you rush to fill the void with messages, before you try to win her back in her timeline, pause. Understand the subtle psychology at play. Recognize the power of absence. Realize that what she doesn't show outwardly is often louder than anything she says. And most importantly, remember, her quick move on is not the end of your story. It's merely a trigger for the first ripple of realization she has yet to feel. Because when you disappear, when you allow no contact to work its quiet magic, you aren't just giving her space. You're giving yourself the power to rise, the power to grow, and the power to reclaim the dynamic she thought she controlled. And that, my friend, is a game no one can teach you, except life itself. Here's a truth most men never hear. When a woman moves on quickly, it doesn't mean she forgot you. It doesn't mean she no longer values what you brought into her life. What it usually signals is that she's avoiding something deep, uncomfortable, and undeniably real. That moving on is a mask, a shield she uses to protect herself from the tension your absence has created. And this is where no contact becomes a quiet weapon, because it doesn't just remove you from her timeline, it begins to occupy her mind. Women are wired to analyze, to remember, and to feel. Even when she acts casual, even when she appears to thrive in your absence, her mind is running silent calculations. Did I truly appreciate him? Did I make a mistake? Why does it feel like something is missing? You see, humans are pattern-seeking creatures, and women are no exception. They remember how you made them feel, the subtle energy you carried, the laughter, the conversations, the safety, and the excitement. When that energy disappears, the pattern is broken, and the subconscious mind doesn't ignore broken patterns. It obsessively revisits them. This brings us to the second reason no contact works. Absence creates mental tension that forces reflection. She may appear fine on the surface, she may post smiling pictures, flirt with someone new, or talk about her life without missing a beat. But the moment she is alone, really alone, her thoughts return to you. That quiet, almost invisible pull begins to creep in. She remembers the parts of life you colored for her. She recalls your energy, your presence, and suddenly, the speed at which she tried to move on doesn't feel enough. That internal conflict is subtle, but it is devastatingly powerful. Many men make the fatal mistake of assuming that visible actions equal emotional closure. They think, if she's out having fun, she must be over me. That's where you're blind to the invisible battle happening in her mind. She may not admit it to herself, and she may certainly not admit it to you, but her thoughts will circle back to you, especially if she felt something unique that cannot be replicated. Your absence is the echo of that uniqueness. It triggers curiosity, desire, and ultimately, reflection. Another subtle mechanism at play is something psychologists call cognitive dissonance. When her actions, moving on quickly, don't match her feelings, lingering attachment, unresolved desire, or regret, she experiences internal discomfort. Humans instinctively seek to resolve cognitive dissonance. She will either attempt to justify her quick move on, or she will find herself questioning it, sometimes even unconsciously. And when no contact removes your presence from her immediate reality, it leaves only her unresolved emotions, magnified, confused, and impossible to ignore. Think about it. She can surround herself with distractions, she can go out, date, or socialize, but your absence is like a quiet drumbeat in the background of her mind. Every time she feels that tug of tension, it reminds her that something, someone, was real, significant, and not fully replaceable. You become the silent echo in a room that she thought she had emptied. That echo can be unbearable, and it grows louder the longer you remain steady, calm, and absent. Now, this isn't about mind games. This is about letting reality work in your favor. No contact isn't manipulation, it's a mirror. It reflects her true feelings back to her without you saying a word. Her mind begins filling the void you left with memories, emotions, and subconscious questioning. The speed at which she initially tried to move on becomes irrelevant. What matters is the emotional tension you've planted, a tension she cannot see, cannot ignore, and cannot easily control. Here's where many men fail. They confuse patience with weakness. They think waiting silently while she processes her feelings means inactivity. In reality, this period of absence is the most active psychological influence you can have. It's silent, invisible, and yet more persuasive than any argument, plea, or message. Every moment she spends wondering about you while you remain detached strengthens your position, your value, and the emotional pull that she may eventually feel. The next layer is even more profound: emotional contrast. When she experiences someone new or tries to move on quickly, she begins to compare. She compares the superficial connection she has now with the depth, authenticity, and energy she felt with you. Even if she initially convinces herself that she's fine, the contrast triggers subtle regret, introspection, and longing. No contact ensures that she can't simply replace you, because the emotional imprint you left is uniquely yours. Men often ask, but if she's happy, doesn't that mean no contact failed? The answer is no. Happiness in her external life doesn't erase internal tension. Even the most seemingly over it woman experiences moments when she questions her decisions, doubts her choices, and recalls the man she thought she could move on from. The power of no contact is not immediate gratification. It's a long game. It's the unseen tug of war between desire and denial, between reality and pretense, and it's incredibly effective, even if she appears to have moved on quickly. So understand this: your absence is not emptiness. It is influence. It is power. It is a quiet force that triggers reflection, cognitive tension, and emotional contrast. It forces her to confront feelings she tried to suppress, and when she does, she will realize what she truly valued, the very thing she tried to leave behind. This is why no contact works. Not because it manipulates her, not because it coerces her, but because it allows her mind and heart to catch up to reality. Even if she tried to move on quickly, her subconscious knows the truth before her conscious mind does. And that truth is magnetic, unavoidable, and profoundly compelling. Here's a reality most men never fully grasp. Desire isn't born from presence, it's born from absence. When you are constantly available, when you chase, text, and hover around her life, you unknowingly diminish your value. You may think you're showing care or love, but what you're really doing is training her mind to take you for granted. That's why no contact is so devastatingly effective. Even if she appeared to move on in days, it taps into a primal force that no argument, explanation, or apology can replicate: the fear of loss. Think about this. When someone disappears from your life, it forces a reckoning. Suddenly, she is confronted with a stark truth. The energy she once dismissed is no longer there. The laughter, the stability, the confidence, you. And that absence triggers an uncomfortable, undeniable question. Could I have underestimated him? Did I let him slip away? That question, left unresolved, gnaws at the subconscious. Desire grows quietly, persistently, even if she tries to convince herself otherwise. This is the third reason no contact works. It activates deep-seated desire through emotional scarcity. Scarcity isn't about games or manipulation, it's about creating space for her mind and heart to recognize your value without interference. When you stop engaging, you stop validating her assumptions that she controls the dynamic. She can try to replace you, distract herself, or rationalize her moving on, but deep down, the absence you create begins to take on a weight she can't ignore. It's invisible, it's silent, but it's undeniable. The subtlety here is everything. You don't need to chase. You don't need to explain. You don't need to prove that you matter. You only need to exist in a state of emotional independence. That's where the magic happens. Women are experts at reading energy, even when they pretend they don't notice it. By holding your space, living your life fully, and remaining unshakable, you communicate one irrefutable truth. Your value isn't dependent on her attention, and that paradoxically becomes irresistible. Let's talk about respect. When she sees that you are unaffected by her attempts to move on, she subconsciously reassesses the power dynamic. She begins to measure your worth not by your presence, but by your absence. The very thing she thought she controlled, the timing, the emotional availability, the pace of attachment, slips away. In that vacuum, she experiences a mix of curiosity, longing, and sometimes regret. This combination is potent. Desire isn't just attraction, it's respect, admiration, and the fear of losing someone who cannot be replaced. Here's the hard truth men often overlook. A woman's mind operates in two layers, conscious and subconscious. On the surface, she may behave as if she's fine, smiling and socializing, posting photos, or exploring new connections. But underneath, her subconscious is replaying moments, energy, and feelings that you once provided. Absence creates friction between her conscious actions and subconscious attachment. That friction fuels desire far more powerfully than presence ever could. Another layer is the illusion of control. Women are naturally curious, and they often test boundaries, consciously or unconsciously. When she moves on quickly, she may be trying to convince herself of independence, to regain control, or to prove resilience. But when you step into no contact, that illusion collapses. You are no longer available at her convenience. You are no longer participating in her narrative. And suddenly, she is faced with a truth she cannot deny. Your value exists outside her control, and that realization is magnetic. The fear of loss also intersects with self-reflection. When a woman experiences your absence, she begins comparing the comfort she tried to replace, the unique energy she once felt, the emotional safety and strength she may now lack in others. Even if she initially convinced herself she moved on quickly, the contrast starts to feel jarring. And the longer you remain absent, the more that contrast sharpens. This is the quiet power of no contact. It's not forcing desire, it's allowing her subconscious to reconcile reality, and often reality favors the one she underestimated. You might be thinking, what if she never comes back? What if she's truly over me? Here's the truth. The goal of no contact isn't to guarantee a reunion, its power lies in creating clarity. It separates attachment from dependence, respect from desperation, and desire from entitlement. Even if she never returns romantically, the dynamic shifts irrevocably, you regain yourself, and she gains awareness of your irreplaceable presence. That is influence that words or arguments could never achieve. Men often fail because they chase what is already theirs to lose. No contact teaches patience, emotional resilience, and the silent pull of value. It allows her mind and heart to reconcile feelings that she tried to dismiss. It activates desire by making her confront absence, scarcity, and the reality of losing something she once took for granted. And in the end, desire isn't about manipulation. It's about letting her subconscious acknowledge truths she cannot fabricate or ignore. So understand this. The third reason no contact works is the interplay between desire, respect, and the fear of loss. Even if she appears to have moved on quickly, absence creates a mirror she cannot escape. That mirror forces introspection, ignites longing, and amplifies your value in ways that constant contact could never achieve. And that is the silent, powerful force you wield when you choose to step back, focus on yourself, and let reality unfold naturally. By now, you should understand the unseen power of no contact, how absence magnifies emotional truth, how it creates mental tension and reflection, and how it triggers desire, respect, and the fear of loss. But understanding it isn't enough. The next step is mastering it, the art of staying silent while your value quietly reasserts itself in her mind. This is where most men fail. They know the theory, but they crumble under impatience, emotion, or ego. No contact isn't about punishment. It's not about playing games or making her jealous. It's about self-mastery. It's about recognizing that your emotional independence is your strongest leverage. While she may post, text, or appear over it, your calm, unwavering absence becomes the gravitational pull she cannot ignore. She begins to notice the void where you once existed. That void grows louder with every day you invest in yourself instead of chasing her attention. That is influence without effort, and it is devastatingly effective. Now, here's the subtlety most men miss. No contact works not just because she notices your absence, but because it allows time for emotional recalibration. Humans rarely change their feelings on a dime. She may have acted quickly to move on, but her emotions are far slower, more deliberate, and far more nuanced than her visible actions suggest. Every interaction she once had with you, every laugh, every glance, every subtle intimacy lingers. Your absence gives those memories space to breathe, to take root, and to grow into quiet longing. This period of silence is also your opportunity. While she's subconsciously processing, you are actively evolving. You focus on your growth, your goals, your social life, and your purpose. You become irreplaceable, not because you are performing for her, but because your life becomes magnetic in its authenticity. That energy is invisible to the casual observer, but it radiates through presence, confidence, and emotional stability, and she will notice it, even if she pretends not to. But here's the hard truth. You will feel discomfort. Absence triggers your own fears, your own questions, your own insecurities. That's natural. That's part of the process. The difference between men who succeed and men who fail is simple. Those who succeed embrace that discomfort. They allow the silence to work, trusting the unseen psychological forces at play. Every moment you resist the urge to reach out, every day you maintain your boundaries, strengthens the pull she feels, even if she never admits it openly. Let's put this in perspective. Think about your last intense emotional attachment. Now imagine if, in the middle of that, the person you cared about simply stepped away, not out of anger, not out of malice, but with calm, deliberate independence. That absence would force reflection, provoke longing, and create an internal dialogue she cannot escape. That's exactly what no contact does. Even if she acted like she moved on quickly, the absence magnifies what she truly feels beneath the surface. So how do you implement this effectively? It starts with clarity of purpose. You must define why you're doing no contact, not to manipulate, not to punish, but to regain yourself. Then comes emotional discipline. You refuse to respond impulsively, you resist checking her social media obsessively, and you detach from the need for validation from her actions. Finally, you embrace personal growth. You rebuild your life in ways that make your absence meaningful and your presence magnetic should she ever come back into your orbit. There is one final psychological insight that makes no contact unstoppable. Humans are wired to fill voids. When she experiences your absence, she instinctively starts to evaluate what she truly values. The speed at which she initially moved on becomes irrelevant because her subconscious begins reconciling reality with desire. And desire is never fully rational, it is emotional, instinctive, and persistent. Your silence doesn't push her away, it draws her inward, toward her own unacknowledged feelings. And here's the ultimate truth to take away. No contact doesn't guarantee she'll return, but it guarantees one thing far more important. It guarantees that you reclaim your power, your emotional independence, and your self-respect. You are no longer reacting to her timeline, her actions, or her choices. You are living life on your terms, and that, more than anything, amplifies your value in ways that words could never convey. Now here's a question for you, right here, right now. If absence creates power and presence can diminish it, then ask yourself, what would your life look like if you truly let go of the need to control her feelings and focused only on yourself? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to see your honest reflections. If this video resonated, hit that like button, subscribe for more truths about female psychology and dating dynamics, and share this with a friend who needs to hear this before he breaks his silence for the wrong woman. Remember, the power of no contact isn't visible, it isn't immediate, it's silent, profound, and it works when you work on yourself. Your absence is your influence, your silence is your strength, and your value is what she can't replace.